The more we see, the worse it looks. The more we see, the worse it looks. In Georgia, Appalachee High School. You know what happened there. I don't have to tell you. But the more that we're learning about the communications and what was going on, the worse it looks for everybody. Once again. At Court TV, we focus generally on the criminal liability in these, but in these situations, it's about getting to the solution. In these situations, it's about finding an answer. In these situations, it's about, okay, let's take a much closer look at this and figure out why this happened again. Did it have to happen? This case? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And looking at all of the facts as they continue to come out here gets, I think, everyone more and more frustrated. And to me, yeah, we can punish people, we can prosecute people, we can sue people, etc. But when is everybody going to learn? And when I say everybody, I mean like it starts at there's three places, right? There's law enforcement arm, there's the parental guardian arm, and there is the school arm. And there has to be catastrophic failure by all three for this to happen. And again, there was. For someone who posted what he posted more than a year before taking action at Appalachee High School, for a father who's been put on notice by law enforcement, for a mother who has lived a very, 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 very troubled life, but seemed to have some information about this, this is pathetic. If you add on top of it the school. And when I say the school, I would say because we have, in this case, we have an individual who was going to different schools, perhaps in different jurisdictions. That's not 100% clear to me yet if he moved from a middle school in one jurisdiction to a high school in another jurisdiction. But the bottom line here is that there is zero accountability. There is like zero action by the school as well. So let's start to break it down. I'm going to play this video, and this is a good chunk of the video of the interview of the father. The mother spoke out today. We're going to talk about all of this on my show tonight at 8:00 on Court TV. But it seems that there were communications the day of from the 14-year-old to his mom, likely to his father. There was, according to the mother, again, this is according to the mother, who is not a reliable person. Not a reliable person. But if what she is saying is true, the mother, that teachers heard chatter that day and sent something to the counselor, and she called the counselor in the morning, and this still happened. I know it happened early. It happened at like just after 10 a.m., early in the day. But there is no sense of urgency from anyone across the board on this. So if you want to go back, and I just want to set up this video and give you a little bit of my take on the video as you watch it. The Discord is the social media app, I guess. And apparently they were able to track down what house it was coming from, right? Because all the computers have an address. So the FBI tracked down the house. So local police had the address based upon the computer, went to that house, but the people that were living there at the time had moved. So they tracked them down in their new house. So I guess initially everyone was sort of living together in that old house, which would have been the mother, the father, the son, and two siblings. And then the mother and two siblings leave, and the father and the son go to this new house where you're going to see this body camera video from. But the fact that they moved doesn't change the fact that this post was made. And the post was very specific about the information about what this person wanted to do, which was to become notorious, like the kid from Sandy Hook, and was then going to end his own being. So that note was very specific. But what I didn't see in this video, unless it happened off camera, and I don't think it did because of the way the conversation went, because I watched everything that we were given by Jackson County. At no point are the specifics of what was posted told to the father, or was the son, the 14-year-old, confronted with the specific message. Now, the FBI tracked down the message and then contacted local enforcement. But in situations like this, you can't afford to play the game of telephone. There can't be vague information going from the FBI to local law enforcement. Local law enforcement, I presumed, had the information. They knew the social media app. I would assume that they would have the actual post with them when it's time to confront the people or the home where this came from. Is that a crazy presumption? Like, this is serious stuff. These threats should be taken very seriously until proven otherwise. But what struck me about this video was the nonchalant attitude of law enforcement downplaying this while gathering information from the father. Like, the father is talking about the access to those devices. Oh, yeah, there's access. Oh, yeah, he's being bullied. And also saying when he comes out here, you're going to see sort of this, him turn flush red. We've been having some issues. I've been going to the school a lot. Everything the father is saying should amplify the concern of police, but it has the opposite effect where they seem to be downplaying the whole thing. Now, the father's reaction is he's like, well, because the way he's being told, it's not like they're doing it in an alarming, serious way or saying, listen, this came from your house that you used to live in. If this is your son, this is important. Because the father is saying, yeah, we have those devices. And if you tell me that this is serious or whatever, I'll lock them up. And they don't take the bait, police. They just stand down. It's weird. It doesn't make sense. It's bizarro. It's the tone of this conversation is completely inappropriate. As is probably the place it's taking place. Probably should have been brought down to the precinct or the deputies or the sheriff's office. They probably don't have a precinct there. But everything is just off. Like, this isn't a serious matter. It was like a promise to do something to a whole bunch of other people and then to do it to himself. And the father's telling him, oh, yeah, we talk a lot about it. He just got his first deer. So police are getting information that he's like good at this now. He knows what he's doing with one of these devices. And the father is saying it like it's a reason to calm down here when it's a reason to be more on edge. Because if you put together the threat with the ability to execute the threat now, it becomes even more serious. Yet, the tone of this whole thing, the more information comes out that is more alarming, it becomes seemingly disarming for the police and for the father. So the father's very nonchalant throughout this whole thing. But it seems to me he's almost reacting to the way police are handling this. Like, police are saying this is serious, but they're not acting like it's serious. And then you'll see they question the son who comes out, the 14-year-old. And my goodness, could he be a worse liar? Like, like this, like can't got his hands in his pockets, his eyes are shifting, and he's waving back and forth. It's insanity. It's really insanity. Then take on, and again, I'm going to play it. I just want to lay everything out here so when you watch it, you have at least some context from me. I'll play it, Kim. Relax. Give me 1 second. And then you put all of this video and what the father knows in context with what the mother was saying about getting text messages from her son that were very troublesome, that made her call the school, and the school saying that he's talking about this sort of activity, and it's all happening, and there's no urgency at all, and there's not a call to 911. There's nothing. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. And I don't understand. Like, you can look at the father, like some people who aren't from Georgia or from places where you do hunting are going to interpret everything that the father says as negative. But for a large portion of people in our country, hunting and activities like that are sort of a rite of passage, a way of life. It's it's an activity. It's what you do. It's what you do. So a lot of people are finding that alarming in and of itself, but that's not what it all comes back to. This post on social media and the specifics of it. And in light of that, all of the other conversation becomes much more alarming because of this young man's knowledge and comfort with these devices. So I see exactly why people are angry here. But as you listen to this, tell me if you think law enforcement is taking the right approach with the right sort of tenor of the conversation, where it's taking place, how it's taking place, and how they're reacting to gathering what I felt was very alarming information from the father, who is being seemingly very transparent to a certain extent about devices. And yeah, I got a bunch of them. Oh yeah, they're accessible. Oh yeah, I've been taking them out. We talk a lot about it. Okay. Well, now he's allegedly making these threats, which came from a house that you lived in. We need to take some action here. So can you lock them up, sir? But they don't do that. Take a listen.
Do you have weapons in the house?
I do.
Are they accessible to him?
They are. I mean, there's nothing loaded, but they are down. We do a lot of shooting. We do a lot of deer hunting. He shot his first deer this year.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so like I'm pretty much in shock, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know anything about him saying like that, and I'm gonna be mad as hell if he did. And then all the guns will go away, and they won't be accessible to him.
Okay, so the father's saying, listen, if that's what he said, then they won't be accessible. This is where police have to read him the riot act. Like it came from a computer address in your home. Not this home, but the prior home that you lived in. So it is your son. Like it is your son. But now we leave it in this gray area like, oh, maybe it was him, maybe it wasn't. We don't really know. So there's nothing we could do about it, so don't worry about it.
You know, I'm trying to be honest with you, I'm trying to teach him about firearms and safety and how to do it all and get him interested in the outdoors. Mm-hmm. Like on my phone.
And get him away from those video games.
Exactly right. That's the God honest truth. And the picture on my phone is him with blood on his cheeks from shooting his first deer. It was just the greatest day ever. Yeah, so sure. He knows the seriousness of weapons and what they can do and how to use them and not use them. So it's kind of no need.
Okay, this isn't about like mishandling a device. This is about knowing how to use it. Yet the fact that this father is now telling law enforcement that, yeah, he knows about it. He knows the damage that can be done with this. That doesn't raise their sense of alarm of the situation. And remember, the foundation of all of this, the reason they're talking is because of this very specific threat that was made from an IP address from this man's prior home at the time he was living there with his son.
It's kind of a little bit of a shock. So, in whatever y'all are telling him, please instill in him that if this is whatever or wherever this is coming from, it's no joke.
No.
Like, it's no joke.
But we wouldn't be here if it was.
No, I know. And I'm telling you right now, we talk about it quite a bit.
Okay.
All the school shootings, things that happen.
Yeah.
Hey, are you getting picked on at school? He is. He's getting picked on at school. And
Next alarm. He's literally telling these officers that his son is being bullied. Who are the people that do this? By and large, people who are getting bullied. Like, I know that. I'm not in law enforcement. I just cover these stories. You know that. We all know that. Why don't these deputies understand that this now makes it even more of a risky situation? This is someone who is now fitting the profile exactly of who would lash out. Someone who's being bullied.
is everything okay? That's why I keep going up there.
Yeah.
You know, because you never really know, and I don't want anything to happen to him. So these are good dudes. Just they're told.
Hey, Cole, what's going on, bud? So did your dad kind of explain everything to you?
Said something about
Shooting up a school.
Did you say something about school shooting?
Never. I just told him, I don't know what. Maybe they misheard somebody else. I would never say that was threat. I was just
You never ever said.
no, I swear.
Do you use this?
Kids are the worst liars. They just are. They're not good at lying.
Discord?
Discord?
Yes, sir.
I used to. I don't have it.
When was the last time you used it?
Like a few months ago.
Really?
Was it at Traditions or was it here?
No, it was a tradition because in that Discord account that I had deleted it before
Before you moved here?
Yeah, because I think it got it had been password pulled or something. Like I clicked on a link and somebody.
Have you heard anybody on Discord when you were using it say something like that? Remember?
Like at that time?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think I ever had anybody that.
Never. And I mean, I'm not trying to get anybody hemmed up, but this is some serious stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, he knows how serious it is, trust me.
'Cause I'd hate to, my boss was even I don't know how old this information is, and if you want to wait till Monday to follow up, I was like, nah.
Okay, here's a problem. Okay, so this isn't on these officers. This might be on the FBI. It might be on their boss. This is the communication. He's now saying that his boss told him he doesn't know how old the information is. So now we've got the FBI playing telephone with local law enforcement in an extremely serious scenario. They're not doing their jobs. Oh, we track them down. All right, we know the IP address. We're done with it? No, you know the IP address. Now you need to follow up with local law enforcement and give them all the information that they need. Why is there gray area right now in the communication between these deputies, their boss, and the FBI? Why is that? Why aren't they communicating on this? It seems pretty simple. Like the day this happened, CNN got the information like that. This is outrageous. This is malpractice. If you can't sue them for malpractice, but if you could sue them for this would be malpractice. And either it falls on the FBI or it falls on the sheriff's department. My guess is I'm going to probably go with the FBI, not following through. Because these deputies don't have the information now. Well, it might be old, it might not be. So now all of a sudden the seriousness of all this has come all the way down here. Which it should not be. Let's continue.
I'd rather do it now because
So would we.
God forbid something happened and I didn't do my job. I'd feel pretty bad about that. So I just want to make sure you understand that if something like that happens or you hear something like that, report it.
Let me tell you, if it was child pornography on that IP address, they'd be go get a warrant. They would storm in. They would seize devices. How many cases have been prosecuted in federal court from IP addresses? Ask Keegan Klein about that. For you Delphi followers.
Tell your dad, tell teachers.
Like I told him, I would promise I would never say something like that.
So you haven't used Discord in a few months, and you're saying you didn't say anything like that.
No, the only thing I have is TikTok, but I just go around there and watch videos.
Okay.
All right. This questioning sounds like redirect, like trying to rehabilitate your witness. Like if someone is suspected of doing something like this, which actually is a crime, and making a threat like that, now you as law enforcement are helping him along to explain it away rather than taking the tact of cross-examination or trying to let him speak rather than feed him answers. These are leading questions. They all suggest an answer. They make it easier on the subject. In this case, they do.
Well, fair enough.
What's your birthday?
He's just gonna do a little report saying that
We
what
talked.
we've done in reference to this, and that we talked, and you saying that you didn't say anything like that. And I gotta take you at your word, and I hope you're being honest with me. I'm not saying you're lying, but it's
a serious thing. Really.
It's not unusual for people to lie to police. That's what we're doing.
I'm not saying you're lying, but you're lying. Now, they may have believed he was lying. I don't know. They're going to do a report. Like, okay, you're going to do a report. This is not a case where police are attempting to arrest someone. What they're trying to do, I believe, and this mission is to prevent a tragedy. And the level of seriousness is just not conveyed to this father. Like an IP address is an IP address. That part the FBI got right about where it came from. So, to me, that is what you build the seriousness and how you explain to the father, listen, this came from your house. The problem is, I don't know if he has the actual post with him or if that got lost in the sauce. But someone is because everything is there. Like it's there. The FBI got it. Did they relay it properly? Did they follow up? Did they make sure that they got the information? Did the person who took the information from the FBI give it to these deputies so it's clear? Or are we playing telephone with lives here? The father's not convinced. I think your job here was to convince the father that this is serious and you need to lock him up. But the father didn't get the message. And apparently, it gets worse in that the father then, months later, this is in the spring, the next holiday season, then purchases the device that is used. When I heard that there was a visit by law enforcement, this is not what I was expecting. This is not what I was expecting. Like there's friendliness, rapport to get information. But your information has to be, I mean, the basis of this visit is an episode that will devastate families and a community. And you have an opportunity to prevent it. This is not about arresting people. This is about prevention. Like crime prevention. Not, yeah, we don't have enough to book them, Dano. That's not what this is about. This is about preventing mass tragedy, which has to be on the shoulders of everyone here who has any sort of this information. Because if we can't stop them when we have this information, when can you stop them? Like, never. This was served up on a silver platter and completely botched on 3 levels. Law enforcement, something got lost in translation here. And you hear it from the deputies on the scene. We really don't know how old this information is. We don't know they don't know how serious it is. That's lost in the sauce. The school, because the report that we've gotten is that the information was given to the school. The school that he's at this point is not the school he ends up in. So now we've got schools who need to communicate. Children should have some level of a disciplinary record or something. How about the school gets this information and then does their own investigation, has their own protocols in place to identify potential threats? He's being bullied. And now he's making threats to lash out. Can the school step in and do something to keep the rest of the kids safe and to keep this kid safe and maybe help get him the help that he needs? But that didn't happen either, even though law enforcement gave the information. And again, it's the game of telephone, so I don't know exactly what they told them. It seems to get less and less serious every time it gets translated from one person to the next. And then there's the parents. And in this case, the parents are already on the hook. Dad's already facing the rest of his life behind bars. He will never see the light of day. It's not going to happen. Do you think a jury's going to send him home? Not if he purchased the device after this. Even though this, I think they could have done more to at least raise the urgency of this and the seriousness of this. Because Dad wasn't getting it. The takeaway from here is Dad's not going to do anything. Are you okay with that? The IP address of the threat came from here. Not from this house, but from this family. And you're okay walking away without Dad taking the next step that he said he would take. And that will be his defense at trial. That will be his defense at trial when they play this video. They never said it was, they were speaking in vague terms. I said I would do it. They didn't tell me to do it. That's going to be his defense. Trust me. But I don't want there to be prosecutions here. I want there to be crime prevention so there are no cases. That's the goal. This is the goal of all of this, is not to see who we can prosecute, who we can lock up. The goal of this is much larger. It is to prevent this from happening. And that's what didn't happen here. Continue.
It's going good here.
About ready to get done with it?
I actually already finished. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
When was your last day?
Today, Sunday, so Friday.
Friday? What grade you going into?
8th grade.
8th grade, almost high school, man.
Yeah.
The last 4 years, really, the last 4 years is what matters.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, I'm just focusing on something.
Get them good grades, man. It'll set you up for the rest of
Okay, so that conversation with police, I don't mind that. That's building rapport with the kid. That's actually really good. Have that conversation, but then you got to get to the task at hand here, which doesn't happen. There's some information that's muted on the video.
Yeah, so look, you all are welcome any time. We take it like dead serious around here, and I just want to make sure that I'd even feel better if you do find out what or where. Like, can somebody let us know?
Sure.
He's gonna.
Okay, so again, this will be the father's defense, but this is where things are falling apart. The father is now under the presumption that this post was made or this discussion was had, but his son had nothing to do with it. But when you find out, let us know. Let us know. Right? This is going to be his defense because he's going to say, I was concerned about my son. I'm concerned about my son. You're telling me these things are happening. I'm concerned about my son. But as they're leaving it right now with law enforcement, is that this kid is not the one who's responsible. This is his defense.
Be full of anxiety until this gets resolved. I can tell you that right now.
I've never really said something related to school.
So did you switch schools when you moved from Traditions? Where were you going before?
West Jackson.
West Jackson Middle? Okay. Is things a lot better now?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. That's good.
Let me grab you one. Can I walk through the grass? I'm gonna grab a
Go
car real
ahead.
quick.
Yeah, it's all good.
Were you getting bullied over there at West Jackson Middle?
That's the thing. I wasn't back there.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't getting.
Now, look, be honest with him about that
Yeah.
now in middle school. I told him you were now, and that's
You getting switched out halfway through the school year?
Okay, right here, the kid is not being honest. He's not saying he's getting bullied, and his father's calling him out on it. That's a red flag. If you're looking for the genesis of a threat, do you think it could be from someone who's being bullied? Yeah. Yeah. Like in almost every one of these instances, it's someone who's been bullied who's now going to lash out.
Being the new guy?
Yeah, I'm doing that quite a lot. We moved like 6 times already. So.
Well, my dad was a logger and grew up in the military. We moved a lot when I was a kid.
Well, at the past schools, surprisingly, I had friends, like I didn't even necessarily have a reason that I would say that or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's always somebody you can talk to if you need to.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I like that from law enforcement, but is the kid really going to do it on his own? No, he's not going to do it. He's not. I mean, but I do like this part of the conversation. Trying to let the kid know, listen, you can reach out. There's people you can talk to, but this is something his father should be involved with doing. This is something that the school counselor should be involved in doing. Because law enforcement is going to be there. They're not going to be there on the front lines when this goes down. They're not there day in and day out when he's going in and out of the school, going home, going online, all the things that happen to kids today.
School resource counselors.
Yeah, and I do talk to them. Yeah, I talk to the counselor quite often.
Okay.
Just, let her update her on, just how I'm showing and stuff like that.
Yeah, start looking out, making goals for yourself.
Okay, that's all we have for now. It's upsetting. I think it's problematic. This was not, we know the result. Like, we know the result. Is this armchair quarterbacking? Is this Monday morning quarterbacking? Whatever it is. Not really. Not really. This is like going into the middle of this thing because the FBI told local law enforcement. Now, what could happen here legally? What could you do? If you've got the IP address, could you go to a judge, get a warrant? Yes, you could. You absolutely could. You could get probable cause. You could do the investigation if that's where you want to go with this. I think the way you go with it is you just put 2 and 2 together and you presume the IP address it was coming from. Well, that's who's responsible. So then you approach it from that tact rather than approaching it from the tact of, well, is this the right person? Is this not the right person? Or gather this information really quickly, then go back and say, well, what are we going to do now? Is it someone else? Is it not this kid? Who is it? Was there someone else in that house? Did we talk to them? Well, if there's no one else in the house, then it's him. Like, what are we talking about here? Now, it was interesting early in the video. I don't think it was shown in this part, but I've seen the whole thing. Police asked if they can go in because he was going in, I think, to get his son. He said, "Oh, we'll go in with you." And the father kept him out of the house. That was interesting, right? That was interesting. I understand you don't want police walking around your house for whatever reason, but that I thought that was interesting as well. Now, everyone's been saying, I think he's drinking a seltzer there. I don't think it's beer. I think it's a seltzer. So I know some people have been commenting and think it's a beer, but I don't think so. I think it's a seltzer. So now you take this notification, like this is like putting someone on actual notice, not put on notice in the strongest of terms. I don't know why. I don't know why. Where would be the harm in instructing this father to lock everything up? Because the father is left with the belief that, yes, something happened, but it wasn't my son, and law enforcement is going to tell me if they figure out who's responsible. That's where this whole thing is left. And that's what the father's going to say in court, but that's what happened here. Again, this isn't about the prosecution's case, the defense's case. This is about looking at a situation that is going to repeat itself somewhere else in this country and why we keep getting it wrong. Why we keep getting it wrong. I want those 4 people to be alive. I want that young man to get help and live the rest of his life, be able to grow up. I want this father to be able to go to work, enjoy the rest of his life. But it's not going to happen because of the failure, I believe, from law enforcement, specifically where something got lost in translation here. I don't have enough facts. The parents, obviously, and the school or schools that did not communicate. Because he transferred or he went from middle school in one county to high school in another county. All right, so what does that tell us? That tells us there needs to be protocol in place when someone is identified. Last time I talked about this, I talked about securing the building. Okay, that's one big piece. Another big piece, when you actually identify children at risk, have a protocol in place to identify them and have some resources to help the child stay on top of what's happening with the child to prevent this from happening, period. But there was nothing. And that's on the schools, plural. I'm not going to put it all on Apalachee. Could be the middle school, could be a combination. And I guess the way it needs to go now is that schools need to communicate with one another. So when a child goes from one school to another school, okay, send us your school records. Maybe that's part of the record, folks. And it's tough if your child gets labeled, right? It's tough. But like the IP address here, a little follow-up, a little more follow-up. And then we get into what the mother is saying about contacting the school that day, what a teacher heard, etc. Okay, we got to do something about this one. Someone is comparing me to BK. That's funny, but that's sad. Who's that girl without a country? Oh my goodness gracious. He has bushy eyebrows. I do not. Okay. Oh, here we go. Lauren Katie, this video is crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Hello to Melly, Gen X, Jennifer Sube, Frankie Figs, our moderators. Thank you. Thank you for keeping law and order. We've got law and order somewhere, at least in our chat. We do. And a good conversation taking place today. Good combination. We've got Facebookers, we got YouTubers. I don't see any Xers in there. If you're X, oh, there we go. Rebecca Hunter. How are kids getting the devices into schools? That was the last video I did. That was the last video. So there's really two prongs right here, right? So if someone's identified, maybe the other part of this is how to identify someone. But once someone is identified, like specifically, like in this case, there needs to be a way for schools to handle it and have a set of procedures and protocols in place. I'm way behind on these comments. I'm just working my way up. 1 second. Sue Forte, this police video is so upsetting. The FBI and local police should have taken the father and son into custody, locked up the devices, and searched their computers. This is way nuts. Okay. Take them into custody. They could have brought them down for questioning. Do they lawyer up and say nothing at that point? I don't know. I would say, based upon the IP address, use that as a basis for a warrant if you want to get a little more serious. But I think what the point of this visit was sort of a fact-finding mission. They weren't convinced one way or the other, and they were just basing everything upon the cooperation of the father and the cooperation of the son. But it didn't work. And why would that work? Like, the kid's not going to tell the truth, and he was obviously lying. You could tell from his body language. It was like blatantly obvious that the kid was nervous, shifty-eyed, and had his hands in his pockets, going back and forth the whole time, and was caught in a lie by his father saying that he wasn't being bullied. So all of that is like, okay, here we go. By the way, we have over 3,300 watching right now. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Please, folks, hit the like. Make sure you're subscribed and share and follow. I think I got it all. I don't know if you could have taken them in custody. I think you could have asked them to come downtown or down to the sheriff's office to have a conversation. I think things would have been taken much more seriously, and maybe actually confront them with the actual communication from social media, maybe with the FBI report. But that wasn't done. It was done a little bit haphazardly here. I know they rushed. As soon as they got the information, it seems like they responded. They didn't want to wait till after the weekend. They wanted to act on it immediately. And that may have been one of the reasons for the lost in the sauce communication. But yeah, the follow-up is go to a judge, get a warrant, and get to the truth. All right. Is it important to know? Is it important to know who posted that? Probably. So maybe you follow up on that. And this visit alone was not enough to deter that young man. This friendly visit was not enough to deter him, which is another lesson from all of this, right? Adam drives Helen for the love of the game. All right. Everybody loves Adam drives Helen. He's working the room, so to speak. Working the room, Adam is. All right. I'm still a little bit behind here. I'm scrolling up. Breeze Dog. Hi, Vinny. Thanks for covering this. Thank you, Breeze Dog, for supporting. Yeah. All right. Nicole on the roll. Dad was so nonchalant. Yes, I agree. Definitely more nonchalant than most of us would be, if not all of us. But that nonchalant was also being fed by the tone of the entire conversation. I think it could have been up. It would have been interesting to see if the deputies upped the stakes a little bit, what the reaction of the father would have been. He may have been very defensive and may have told him to leave. I don't know. Because on the one hand, he is saying, listen, if you find out and it's serious, if it's, I'll take care of it. I'll lock them all up. Should probably lock them all up anyway. The irony is we don't think it's any of the devices that he had then. It was the new device that he bought on the holidays for his son, a few months after all of this, believe it or not. Okay, Gen X reminding everyone, please be mindful of YouTube rules and guidelines and censor the words they don't like. Appreciate it. Thank you in advance. There's all different ways to say things. Because, it's amazing, though, how YouTube is so restricted and so it's like you can say things on broadcast television using the public airwaves, right? Public airwaves, and there are FCC restrictions on that because they're public airwaves. But there's things you can say and do on there that you can't on YouTube, which to me is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. But that's where we are. That's why Gen X always reminding folks, especially when we're talking about any of these subjects. Jennifer Subay, it looks like one of those Red Bulls he's drinking. It could be a Red Bull. Maybe it's a seltzer. Maybe it's a Red Bull. Could be a Red Bull. Gringa, is there evidence he was in fact bullied or just a boilerplate excuse for lashing out? My understanding is that he's bullied because of his sexual orientation. That's my understanding of it. I don't have firsthand information about that, but that's my understanding of what was going on. Green Wool Witch. We were hanging out at CrimeCon. Vinny, thanks for your analysis. I need to catch up on this story. Yeah. So you can catch up tonight, 8 o'clock on my show. Also did another video on this, talking about the school. But this is the father of the 14-year-old who's been charged in all of this. And this was a visit like about a year and a half before what happened the other day happened at the high school. This is when he's still in middle school. All right. Kathy Bell, schools are too big now. It makes it too hard to keep track of these troubled kids. Well, there's an interesting question, right? So I get it. Schools are big. They're very big. And in Georgia, where we are, they're all very big. But they have lots of resources. They put money towards a lot of things. But I've always said this about our schools. I said, if you are going to, as a society and as the local government, federal government, etc., compel children to go to school, like they have to go to school. They're not allowed to not go to school up to a certain age. If that's the case, then you have the obligation, as your first obligation, is to keep them all safe. Period. No footnotes, no qualification. Your first job, when you take custody, care, and control of our children who are mandated by law to be there, your first job is to keep them safe. Number one. Number two, teach them reading, writing, arithmetic. Then comes all the other stuff. The problem is, right now in our schools, we're spending all the time on all that other stuff, and the first two have taken a back seat. The academics are way down, the test scores are way down, and the safety is like, it's a roll of the dice every day. Your first two jobs need to be the top priority. You don't even deal with anything else until you have dealt with the first two. But that's not the world we live in. Who is BK? It's not Burger King. I don't say his name. He's involved in a case out of Idaho involving 4 students. He is the defendant. I do not utter his name, but that's who he is. And Melly saying hello. Another one of our mods. See, Gen X knows there's a big difference between my brows right here. Sometimes they get washed out by the light. And BK's brows. Mine, superior. Okay, Anita. No way, Vinny. You're not like BK at all. Thank you, Anita. I'm probably closer to Burger King than the other BK. And Frankie, Gen X, Jennifer, best mods from Dez. All right, Ginny. It was I'll answer your question. YouTube. Okay. Rosemary Hill, your kids are your responsibility. Yes, your kids are your responsibility, but when we send our children to school, they're also the school's responsibility. They need to prioritize the safety of the children before anything else. They just do. Never going to change my mind about that. Hey, Kelly on X today. Mass failure, lamest police investigation ever. Yeah, I don't know if it was rushed and they didn't have all their information they needed, but like it's obvious. It's obvious that the I don't know what you like. What if you asked a 14-year-old, did you take the cookies from the cookie jar? What are they going to say? They're going to say no. Of course, they're going to say no. Like that's not if that's how we investigated cases. Well, we identified the suspect. We asked him if he did it. He said no, so we closed the case. That's not how it works. And I don't think the deputies necessarily believed him. I just felt like the deputies felt like they were handcuffed because I don't think they were given these two that showed up that day, who seemed to have really big hearts, like really big hearts, and seem to be really good guys, and are in law enforcement for the right reasons. I don't think they got the right information. I think that's where the real problem is. Yeah. So the father is facing second degree. I went through this on my show last night. Second degree in Georgia is relatively new, and it's related to the charge of cruelty to children. So if cruelty to children results in the end of a life, then second degree M becomes the charge. And what happens, it's 10 to 30. So just for two of the charges, the two highest charges, minimum of 20 years. So if he's convicted, the father never getting out. It may not be like called a life sentence, but it will be the rest of his life. He's not getting out. He's not getting out. And the kid's mother, everything we're hearing about her is that she's a piece of work. Now, she spoke today on television, and some of the things she said were very troublesome about email communications that she received. She believed that the father received as well chatter from one of the teachers who was hearing something from the 14-year-old before any of this happened. But nobody really raised their hands anymore. And Ginny, raise your hand if you weren't bullied. By the way, Ginny, I'll give you my bullying story. So when I was it was junior high school. We didn't have middle school when I grew up. It was junior high school. And I was it was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So I was you get an automatic study hall when you're in 7th grade. And I had study hall, and there was a 9th grader who was in there who would pick on me every day, whatever he was doing, maybe a little uncomfortable. What he didn't know was I was best friends with an 8th grader who was bigger and stronger than anyone in the school. And I mentioned it to him one day. The bully went away because the bully was a skinny little scraggly 9th grader who, was just, and, you're 7th grade, and you got all these big kids around you. You're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? One of my good friends took care of it for me, if you know what I mean. That was the only instance I ever had. I think there was one other time when I was in 4th grade, and some 6th graders, I would bring a football before school to have catch with my friend, and they tried to take the ball from us. Little did they know how good we were. And we destroyed them, like tackled them, like knocked them out. So they didn't mess with us anymore. Because me and my friend that we would play football all the time. And these kids, 6th graders, we'll take the ball. We're going to keep it away from you. So as soon as he threw it to his friend, not punching, but like, football, we tackled them, knocked the ball out, and they just left us alone. But that's the language that bullies understand, right? All right. Is this Pittsburgh Deb 412 or PGH Deb 412? Love you, Vinny. This story, heartbreaking, incredibly heartbreaking. Leanne M. Witt, 1969. All schools need panic buttons. They had one here. That's how they alerted everyone. They had one of those buttons, and then the whiteboards flashed the message. All the kids went to action. That part the school did very well. But what's wrong with that? That means that the device has entered the school and the damage is being done already. The reaction was amazing. The resource officers, heroic, absolutely heroic. They were amazing in limiting the damage, but the damage was too much. The damage was too much. But yes, they did have the panic button. So the reaction was really good and they were prepared. But how about taking that same energy to have all this response to these situations and use it to prevent the situations, the same sense of urgency, same sense of same set of protocols. Like you have protocols to react. How about a protocol to prevent? Okay. We can do it. It can be done. Jennifer Jerry. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Appreciated. All right, folks. Tonight I'm on 8 o'clock once again. Oh, this is great. We got some LL Cool J from Hello. Mama said, knock you out. Nice. And Gretchen agrees. Gretchen, go dogs. Prevention. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I have to run because I got to get ready for the show tonight. 8 o'clock on Court TV. We got 4,000 today. So give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for the support. Hit the like. subscribe, follow, share. Do all of that, and we'll keep growing the channel and growing our message. Thank you to everyone for watching. Hate to leave with 4,000, but I got my show tonight, 8 to 9. So 8 o'clock, we're going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about this brand new trial on Court TV. Fascinating case, with two twists. It started with a twist, and then there was another twist today. It's a woman whose husband disappears, ends up underneath the fire pit, buried, etc. A lot of twists and turns in that. Matt Johnson is at the case, at the trial. We'll talk about that tonight. And then 9 o'clock tonight, I know some of you might be watching something else, if there's something else on. But if you're not watching that, which will be, that should be boring, you can watch Vinnie Politan Investigates at 9 o'clock, and we're talking about Delphi tonight. We're diving into Delphi tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the moderators, Frankie Figs, Gen X, Melly, and Jennifer Sube, doing an amazing job. Thank you for the super chats. Great comments, great conversation as always. We have a great community that we're building here, and I appreciate everyone coming out, because the things you're talking about get my head spinning and turning, and I take things from these conversations that you're having, and they sort of motivate and inspire stories and segments that I cover on my television show. So that's great. That's great, because it's great to have my to have a place in the middle of this amazing true crime community that exists. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great night. See you at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, 2 hours live, unscripted, true crime on television. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.